Hello, this is Brian Whitten and ETRs. I just wanted to welcome you back to my channel. I haven't put a video up for quite some time now, and I have, in actual fact, on my last video put a link to a Facebook account and said that I would add bits and pieces should anything have come, to my understanding that was important. And I have, in actual fact, put quite a few things there. Before I go on, if you're 12 years old or younger, I'd rather you go and get your parents to watch this, or your carer, and make sure they've watched it first, and if you're allowed to watch it then, that's fine with me. Everybody else that's been here before, I have shown you, and I'm not going to go and rehash a lot of stuff. We really need to probably move on reasonably quickly in this video, if possible. I have shown you of these types of plates before. This one, in actual fact, is relative to ours, or our cycle, our return, or standing back up going anti-clockwise around the sun, and this is relative to our position at the moment. 6,000 years ago we've learned to this point that the Earth was travelling around the sun in a clockwise direction. The 6,000 year cycle that we have just about to finish has us travelling this way. But the moon is going to be moved, and the cycle of the moon will move closer to the sun and away from the sun, as I've discussed in my last video. And that cycle of the moon in and out towards the sun is in sync with Earth, so that we're seeing these sizes of the moon itself in front of the sun be reflected here. Now, you could say, well, that doesn't really... and I say it's the moon. I could be wrong. It could be another body, but I don't think so. I believe it to be the moon that we're seeing here. The moon is moving in and out closer to the sun, in line with the sun. So if this was the sun, we can see the three different locations that it sits at and how much it covers. One thing I will say is I'm not 100% certain whether I'm assuming the weather is driven by this. The seasonal changes with a straight standing Earth without a tilt on the axis does not give us the weather changes. It also gives us a problem with the melt of winter is on both poles, or at least in one area on the entire globe at the same time. We've discussed how that is managed as well. But what I wanted to do, and the reason I've come back to this today, is because when we'll also note here these little swirls of changing direction here, where one's a 6 and one's a 9 almost, but it's not. It's actually talking about the change of Earth and the rotation of Earth on its axis, not the one about rotating around the sun in a different direction. This is achieved when it's in the first 2,000 years of the 6,000 years it takes to go from the outer ring of rotation, which I may add is 186,000 miles from the sun, whereas in the inner ring it's 93 million miles from the sun. We are seeing the change in rotation. I just want to quickly cover this because it is pertinent to what's going to happen in the next couple of months. So excuse me, I'm going to get my globe, and I will say to you we're spinning in this direction here, and the way this is achieved is from the outer ring here, the Earth is laid in towards the sun and flipped that way. And then 4,000 years later, after it's run this 4,000 year cycle to get you back onto the inner ring, it is stood back up that way. So it's technically still spinning in the right direction, but now it's spinning clockwise on its axis, whereas out here it was spinning anti-clockwise. And that's how it does it. It just lays it flat, twists it like that, and lifts it back up that way. And that's how it does it. I'll say the very same process is used in another manner by another body. This body that we see inserted in this picture now, this is compliments of Planet X news. It's not being told to you just the same way all these things aren't told to you. It's a hidden history of mankind, and unfortunately it's being hidden from a greater majority of us, certainly most of us English and people from the Mediterranean areas. There are people amongst us that do know the truth. They are the Masons and the Royals and the Royal elites, and the elites of our world certainly hide this from us. But I wanted to go and cover that issue because there is something very, very important that I've understood in the way we are protected when Nibiru comes through the system, what day it's going to happen, and so on. So that's why I'm placing the new video up on here, so that you can see just exactly what we're to expect to happen, because we're going to see a planet, another planet that's near the Sun, like I said, with this inserted image from Planet X News. You're not being told about it, but what will happen is that will come across and get in front of the Sun. And it's going to spin, it'll be laid flat on its axis like this, spinning, and that will be how the planet is protected, our planet, because of what is going to transpire. I want to first of all show you a crop circle. The first crop circle I'll show you is this. I'll insert the picture here so you have a better quality. I do realise that we lose a little bit of quality of image. I'll be honest with you, I can't remember if I actually got this off, I think this is Crop Circles UK. I went through a lot of their crop circles, and I do let these people know what they mean, so you know, and I don't make any income off my channel here, never have. This is a message that was given to all of us. It should have been given to all of us for nothing. So I've persisted with that concept, and my understanding is that I've not sought, I did seek at one point money and funding from the federal government, but mostly to look at rocks and to pay to see whether or not the rock images that we see on the rocks, here's one or two here, are in actual fact on all the rocks. They're certainly on every rock I've picked up around here, and I've gone hundreds of kilometres to understand that that is in actual fact the case. What we're seeing here is the month of November, and what we're seeing is a body move out from behind the Sun. It's there, we know it's there. You're not being told it is, but that's the case. And we're seeing the body move out here and how much of the Sun it's going to cover within a given period of time of the month of November. I have made a mistake here where I said the 24th to the 31st. That should be the 30th there, not the 31st. And it is November, and it will be November. There are many other things I will show you, but these are for the days, so that we know how long it's going to be and how much of the Sun it's going to cover. One thing I wanted you to watch here, or take note of, is that we're going out with one dot, and then we're getting in line here, and now we have two dots, and we're leaving with two dots. You can see that what's happened here is it's taken another dot away with it. And what's happening here is this planet, when it moves out towards Earth, I will once again pick up my globe, so excuse me. When it comes out towards Earth, it will be spinning like so. It'll be creating a magnetic field, but the magnetic field is at an angle of 90 degrees to Earth's magnetic field, so it doesn't affect Earth. That's what happens. So it rolls out like this, and it is the rotation of this happening that creates a magnetic field to protect Earth, which will be out on its ring of rotation here, and it will protect it. So this is showing the cycle here of this new body away from the Sun and how it's going to go out, and it'll be at its closest on the 16th of November. The irony is that that's actually my birthday, which was the very day I discovered the images. I said on my 60th birthday, which in actual fact wasn't. It was my 61st birthday. My first birthday was the day I was born. So in actual fact it was 61, which is 16 backwards. And I was on the 16th of November. But that's just the way it is. I don't know why that is. It just is. And basically what happens when it gets out there to the 16th, it's the spinning of Earth with the magnetic field created by this body that protects the Earth's surface from what would be a galactic event like Tunguska if we looked at this image here. It happened in 1908. It was, ironically, we take 8 from 19 and we get 11, which is the month of November. The 19th is when the moon's going to be pulled away here, so we're getting told a few things by that event in Tunguska. It wasn't just that. If we look at this inserted image here, this is the event that slowed the globe from 10-hour day. It is a huge event, but it is also marked with Tunguska. I would suspect that that is saying to us what part of the Earth is going to be pointing at this, in other words, giving us a time of day that's what that's going to be doing. It's going to say at what time of day is Nibiru going to enter through the system. I would like you to look at this inserted image. This happened above my house not so long back. It was only a couple of weeks ago. I know it sounds silly. I looked aloft and asked a question, and within seconds that happened. I heard a noise above my house that I hadn't heard before. I thought that sounds really weird, and I went outside. But our clouds were here, covered all the way to the horizon, and the loop that you are seeing, all the tails that went both to and from that loop, went as far as the eye could see. There was not one noise I heard but the turn above the house. Whatever it was, it left a mark in the cloud bank from where it came, around above my house and back down south again. It did answer my question that I had asked. However, it also gave me thought processes of something else which was extremely important, which is why I put this video up here. And I wanted to let you know that once again, if we come back to the Earth here and understand that, well, not this Earth, but the new Earth, when this is spinning, this new body is going to be spinning this way, creating this electromagnetic field, it will be that electromagnetic field that protects, like I said, the Earth's surface. Just before I show you that crop circle, I do want to point out once again, as I've just stated, that inserted event that I showed you here, marked by Tunguska, is the one that slows this planet at this point here. These are the 2,000 years that I've told you that it takes to flip the planet around as it lay flat. It doesn't get stood back up until it gets back to the end here. That makes the cycle from here to here a 4,000 year cycle, but the livable portion is the center of the cycle, whereas ours is different. In our religion, my religion, I'm a Christian by faith. I was raised a Christian, but I do not go to church. I haven't done so since I left school. But in our cycle, it's 6,000 years long, but the livable portion is both the start and the end. Hence the term, the second coming. And there is a second coming because there is no civilization that lives in our cycle. This is moving in from the outer ring, right? So there's our outer ring of rotation, inner ring of rotation. That's why you're seeing the Asians get put back on here at this point. The Middle Eastern people get put back on Earth at this point. And the South American people aren't getting put back on until the Earth is standing up straight there. So I just wanted to let you know that that is because in this cycle here, the moon is in actual fact stationary and kept on a fixed rotation around the sun, locked in with a horizontal plane, and I will show you how that works before I move on. It is a little bit hard for me to explain this the way this is without some sort of a 3D type media or 3D type software. The manipulation would be, and explanation would be easier to understand. Where we look at line A to line or point B on this diagram, we're talking about the horizontal plane. So in other words, if I was going around the sun, I would be going around this way. Okay, excuse me walking in front of the camera, just so you get an idea what I'm talking about. In the 4,000 year cycle, this ring of rotation here is not always here. It's been moving in gradually as the cycle starts. So when it gets kicked off in the outer ring, 2,000 years after it started, it gets laid flat like so, or it's already laying flat, and it's rotating so, right? It comes in and this plane of rotation here is shifting. So one year it'll be here, next year it's there. So in actual fact it takes 4,000 years to move between the outer ring and the inner ring of rotations that we've already spoken of. But when it's kicked off and when this is initiated, if I was holding the planet directly in front of the sun on the horizontal plane like this, it initiates the plane of rotation from the point of impact. So in other words, it's here. And so the plane of rotation shifts away from the horizontal plane, like this, but the Earth still stays flat. It stays flat because it's been reduced to 24-hour day. We know when we kick the planet off to send it back out to the outer ring, it too is pushed out this way. It's technically the same thing, but the difference is the speed of rotation allows the pole in the next instance will be the South Pole, it will rotate around the sun so that it's always like this, because it's going quicker. The rotational speed of Earth is. The other way it doesn't. When it's 24 hours a day, it goes around the sun this way, like so. And it makes you get 3 months of sun, or 3 months of winter. It makes it impossible to live. It's not until the plane of rotation has shifted up here that you're up here. And therefore you're getting a livable portion within that cycle in these parts here. So in other words, it's still going around on the line here, but once it shifts up like this, it gets to very what we are now, going around the sun this way and not this way. And that's how the livable portion becomes livable. It's this portion here. On the 6,000 year cycle, when it sits like this and it's initiated, it doesn't pivot from the point of location that it's hit or struck, if it was there. It pivots from out here. And that's why it's livable at the start and at the end of the 6,000 cycle. But in the middle of the 6,000 cycle, when the plane is shifting like this, I'm now going over the sun this way. So now I can't live at the top or the bottom, because I've now got 3 months of sun or 3 months of cold when I go that way around the sun. And that's what the difference is there. I wanted to show you that because it does, but there would be people saying, listen, what's the difference if you lay me flat that way? Why does it? It's the speed of rotation of Earth. When it goes faster, the same pole points at the sun as it goes out towards the outer ring of rotation. I just wanted to cover that issue. We'll show you another diagram. This is another diagram that might explain how, because we want to still create all the star signs, if we didn't have within the 4,000 year cycles a movement of something, we would be stuck there getting, children born in one star sign or two star signs. When the Earth is moving in from the outer ring, the moon is fixed. It's the moon that's fixed on the horizontal plane of the sun, not the Earth. Where we're going now, when we come up and the Earth has stood straight, the Earth is locked into the horizontal plane, but the moon was going to move in and out and in and out, and that's why we're seeing reductions in the ability of certain women to ovulate. Certainly everybody above the Mediterranean, which is my ancestry, our women do not ovulate next year. That's the problem we've got. And as I've just showed you in that last diagram, if you look at this inserted diagram once again, the Chinese people or Asian people are getting put on first, the Middle Easterns second. Why? Because the moon isn't close enough. You could put white people on the planet. You could put Middle Eastern people on the planet when it's out further to that ring of rotation of Mars. It's too far from the moon. It's the moon that's too further away. And the sun could also take an issue there. What we're seeing is races of beings. All of us, as much as we think we're humans and all the same, we are not. We evolved on different planets. It is obvious that is within the lessons. By the way, that last image, I will insert it now as an inserted image. There are no watermarks on my work there. You can download them and keep them yourself and understand, might help you understand the principles that we're looking at here. And also the same with this one, there is no watermark here, so I would expect that you people that want to know what we're talking about, download them and study them a little bit more carefully and read the text on the sides and whatnot. I'm not saying they are mistake free, but I've got a fair bit of it sorted at this point. What I want to talk to you about now is we're looking at, that last view was looking on a horizontal plane at the sun. We're now looking down vertically at the sun here, right? So what we're talking about is the Earth, the moon is fixed here, right? And that every time that Earth goes up over the top of the sun, in the case that we're right in the middle of the cycle, right? So in other words, we'll say we're in the middle of the 4,000 year cycle and the Earth is going to go up over the top of the sun and it's going around that way in the livable portion of the 4,000 year cycle. But each time it does it, the Earth's plane of rotation this way is not only just shifting that way as I showed you before, but it's also rotating slowly this way, as is the moon. So as much as it takes the Earth to go around the sun a year that way, it takes a moon a year and a bit to go around that way. So that each time they intersect each other, it's doing the cycle. This could be actually, I think I've put this as 6,000 years because it's selecting 2 months every year. So you're getting, to get or to get all of the 12 star signs, it actually has to take 6 years before the cycle begins again. So that's how you can do it, like it's actually going through here. This year I'll pick up February. I say February and August, but quite frankly it could be February, September, like that, because it's going to be incrementing as the Earth goes round and as the Sun goes round. But rather than it be there in August, obviously it's gone, so it might be 1 year February and September, the next year March, October, the next year April and November. And that is how they select the star signs in the 4,000 year cycle. The cycle that we are just about to do doesn't have this issue in the same way. However, it does still, as we've discussed, select the differently, because it's every 4th month that you're going in and out. So the ovulation is every 4th month. But I wanted to put that in there because it is the 4,000 year cycle. But I did want you to understand a little bit more about how the star signs are selected. And the weight to get closer into the fixed moon of rotation. The moon is on a ring of rotation around the sun that's fixed on the 4,000 year cycle, and that's why they wait for the Middle Eastern races to get put back on, because if you put them on they would just die out. The moon is not close enough for their women to ovulate. Once again I'll insert a copy of this so you can actually look at it. And like I said, I'm not saying that I'm not void of mistakes. I can assure you I've made enough till this point to know that I'm pretty good at making them, and probably explains why there's been one of the reasons why there's 80 videos on ET art. I haven't taken down the ones that I made mistakes in earlier on because it's been a lesson to me, and I thought I'd put it up as quickly as I possibly could because I realised I could have been gotten rid of anywhere along the line. So it was essential to push on. I wanted to bring your attention to this crop circle because in this crop circle we are seeing exactly what Nibiru's past does and what happens when that other body that's close to the Sun is at its closest to Earth on the 16th and 17th of November. That is when Nibiru passes, and that is why we're seeing the loop over my house done very, very quickly. In that what it actually does here, when we look at the outer part, I'll zoom into the top of this portion here, but what we're seeing is a representation of the inner planets. I've got Mercury, Venus, and I say Earth's moon here, and then Earth. I've got Mars written there, but in reality we're probably seeing the movement of the big body back out again, and the amount of months it takes for that to actually take hold. Okay, so from the point of the middle of November, we've got a month and a half before Earth is up onto the horizontal plane of the Sun. But this one takes 4.5 months to get there. So it takes it like middle of March. And I'll show you why that's the case. And when I say the middle of March, it may not be. They may be building that planet to be obviously very smart. And it's not until you see all of the rivers in all of the world have the technology on the river rocks that I've shown you to this point. One would expect it's all over the world. Now I'm going to move into different portions of this. And like most of the things, they have more than one meaning, and it actually makes things a little bit difficult to explain sometimes, or understand definitely. This portion here I wanted to show you first of all. When the other planet is moved out, we've shown that it comes out towards Earth and then moves away from Earth with the moon. I wanted to explain to you how that actually happens. The Earth, in respect to the moon, or I should say the moon in respect to the Earth, does not spin on its axis. It actually has the same face of the moon pointing towards Earth all the time. I would suspect that it's actually laying flat in Earth's magnetic field. Therefore it can't get spun by the magnetic field of Earth, which is what we're getting told. The inner planets of both Mercury and Venus are 58 and 116 days respectively. So I would expect both Mercury and Venus do not sit within the Sun's plane standing upright. They're technically laid over. I have also said in my videos to this point that I believe with the movement of the planet upwards so quickly at the end of waiting, it was like the last 4 minutes it travels 4,000 kilometres, which took 33 minutes or 34 minutes for the whole process, but the first 30 minutes it travels 8,000 kilometres upwards. Oh sorry, it travels 4,000 kilometres upwards, but the last 4 minutes it does the same speed, and for that to happen, the Earth's core cannot be round. It's impossible for that motion to take place. I would see that what we're seeing, well I'll say it's impossible, it's the magnetic field is obviously not just skewed one way, but it's actually got to sit flush with the horizontal plane of the Sun for that last motion to go so quickly upwards to the point it would tear the planet in half. That's what we get told. That would be what I would expect to see. If I pick up the globe again and we look at the globe and understand that if we're spinning and coming towards Earth, so I know this is the Earth, it makes it a little bit more confusing. I could have painted this another colour, but what our colour of our new planet is another story. It won't have oceans and everything on it at this point. I would expect it to be pretty cold. We're going to see our ancestors do some amazing things, absolutely amazing things. When it comes out towards Earth, I believe that after Nibiru's passed, and I'll go through that in a minute with this crop circle, when the plane or the spinning body and its magnetic field, after Nibiru's passed, it will be made spin this way. And when it spins that way, then the moon is within the field in the right way. And it will start the moon spinning, and then when this moves away, it'll probably be driven by comet impacts, I would expect. Not the moon, but this body here. When it moves away, it will be spinning, and the moon is then not lying flat within this magnetic field of this body, it's lying diagonal to it, so it will actually in fact spin the moon and make the moon move away with the field. When the new body is made do that, it'll be the 16th, 17th of November. That is what we're seeing there, but what happens in this tells us here, over the next 16,000 years, if we go to the outer planets here, beyond Mars, the ring of rotation of Mars, we are looking at Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune and Pluto here. And when we go along here, every 4,000 years, or every cycle, because roughly 3,700 or something, I have had people correct me on that matter, certainly seems like the time frame here is slightly less between each one of these. It is showing us as being 16,000 years, so maybe within the 16,000 years it creeps towards the start of the 4,000 year cycle each time. But what actually happens here when Nibiru comes flying through the system, it doesn't come through around the Sun. I'm under the belief that it comes around one of these outer planets, but each time it does it, it grabs an outer planet, which is why we're seeing Jupiter disappear here. It doesn't get destroyed, it just gets taken with it. It's that quick. And that's what happens, and that's what causes this event. Would be like a Tunguska event on half the globe. And I mean, if you look at what we're looking at here, this is Tunguska, and like I said, it would be marking the very point on the globe that is pointing at the Sun, directly at the Sun, because Jupiter on the 16th of November is over the other side of the Sun. That's where it is. It's over the other side, directly opposite Earth and directly opposite sunrise. That is why that body sits there and sits facing us, spinning, so that the magnetic field protects us from that happening, so that we do not get this global event. And that's what happens in the 16th of November. You'll see when the planet moves away, it doesn't just take the moon with it, but Jupiter will be gone. I'll once again move that just out like so that if you wanted to, you can freeze frame that picture there, and you're more than welcome to it as well. Like I said, it's Where I can, I have gone back to where I've seen these crop circles uploaded and told them each and every time the purpose of the crop circle and what it's to do with. You can see Earth here too has been represented as being standing straight as well. Down here it seems to have the Venus, because it looks to be laying flat here. So like I said, it seems to be they drive it like a drive chain. It's like a gear of magnetic fields that make the moon move between Earth and the inner ring, each inner ring of rotation. I do want to make one more point, if I can, with the moon and the way it works. We're seeing two inner positions of the moon. So in other words, the moon, Earth is here and Venus is here and Mercury's there, and it shows the rotational speed. I've left the sun anti-clockwise, I should say, I've left the sun's clockwise fields off there just for ease of understanding how the moon is driven by the inner planets here. There is two inner rings. When I say that this is inverse, it's only covering the equatorial areas here, whereas when the big body is close to Earth, it's covering the whole Earth. It's going to be very cold in the middle of November for that period of time, because we're going to see quite a lot of the sun covered, and we will not have what we're used to. I think we're going to get an expectation of about a third of the light, but that third of the light will be the entire globe, so it's going to be very, very cold and our crops will die. I also know it's going to be middle of November. There are multiple other reasons why we are told that. It's not just one crop circle, it's over and over, and a couple of other things as well. I'll show you a few of them, but what we're going to see here, and the difference with the moon is it's the electromagnetic field of the moon here, right, that in actual fact is protecting the equatorial region of Earth from the sun. Okay, so we're looking down on the solar system here and looking at the rotation of the planets, both the inner planets and moon's rotation of its magnetic field. I could be wrong, like I said, I'm not an astrophysicist, but I would expect it to be this way, not lying flat, and for the magnetic fields to interact, to either push the Earth to push the moon away, and then Venus to push it away, and Mercury probably not just to push it away but also slow it. So you don't want the thing going too quickly, otherwise the magnetic field of Earth itself wouldn't work, and then it would crash into the Earth itself. For this to take place, Earth, once it has the water in the core, spinning around so that it lessens its mass, so that it doesn't travel so quickly through space without the moon in tow. That needs to happen here so that it doesn't move so quickly. The moon in this cycle has to be the same weight and mass as Earth. Like the actual physical weight of the moon within the electromagnetic fields here has to be the same. Still driven by the sun, they have to be exactly the same. Otherwise the moon would creep forward or creep back, and that's not what we want. It's shown as sitting in the middle and going in and out towards the sun. But like I said, on that's when you understand that this is the equatorial region, you could say, oh, well, maybe summer's in here or summer's out here. I'll be honest with you, if I was thinking anywhere so was summer, I would think it's possibly when the moon is closest, because the electromagnetic fields. And it's difficult. It's a difficult one to know. It's going to be a bigger electromagnetic field closer to you, so winter's going to probably be when it's closest. It's a difficult one to work out, and like I said, I'm not an astrophysicist, but that would be what we know to this point, that there are two inner rings, and they're shown also on that plate. I'll insert it here again, that there are multiple rings for the moon itself, and we're seeing that sort of thing. Now I'll show you a parchment in the middle that would have depicted this being the 27th, would have depicted this being the 24th of the 12th, which is Christmas Eve. It's written on an Egyptian parchment. I'll show you that shortly. But what I wanted to show you here, that what we're seeing here in these 3 months, and like I said, here's another one that says the middle of November, is that we're not just seeing that as the only thing expressed here, because what we're seeing here is the movement here. for each planet that's removed. There's 4 planets that are going to disappear over the next 16,000 years from the outer ring of or the outer solar system. And we're saying the outer solar system because out here the sun's horizontal plane and what we call the orange peel or the orange peel field, so they are very, very narrow in some portions and very wide in other portions, that the very narrow field of the horizontal plane, like a Fabergé egg, now you know what they mean. A Fabergé egg is something you take apart and they're all the same, they just get smaller and smaller. It's like the fields of the horizontal plane do the very same thing. It's probably why they're in France, because that is the home of the Illuminati, which is the people behind the hiding of everything here. But that's exactly what's going down. But what we're seeing here is a shift of the solar plane itself. As soon as Jupiter goes, the balance between the inner and outer systems mass changes. And that's what we're seeing. We are now seeing the solar plane shift. So where I've showed you on my other pictures there how the Earth's plane of rotation shifts, we are now looking at the Sun's plane start to shift away from the galactic plane. So if this was the galactic plane here, as soon as Jupiter's gone, it's not balanced anymore, and we're seeing the Sun's shift like this now, the Sun's plane. And so we actually end up chasing the plane here. As the Earth comes up to meet the plane, which would have been on the 24th of the 12th, it no longer is there. It's in actual fact coincided that these all hit here at the same time, I would expect. These are brought up by this planet when it stood up on the inner field, I believe. Both Mercury and Venus. The Earth's moon will be stood back up. When that planet gets back into the Sun and stands back up again, it'll bring all 3 of those bodies back up to the horizontal plane there, and then that will be shifted out to the outer ring level with Mars, and Mars will be made rotate around this, or spin or cycle around Mars. Mars will go around this bigger body because that bigger body will go slower through space because Mars travels way too fast through space to contain an ocean. That is why that process gets done. I just wanted to let you know that that's what we're seeing there. We're seeing the solar plane shift, and we're getting told within halfway through the cycle here, once these planets are moved away, which is 16,000 years, we know Earth gets pushed out beyond again. With 16,000 years, Earth gets laid flat and pushed back out to the outer ring, spinning very, very quickly once it gets out there. We've already seen a 10-hour day. So spinning very quickly out here, and once the solar plane has shifted this far, well, instead of when Nibiru coming back and taking planets, it doesn't, it leaves them. And so it rebuilds the outer system from Nibiru's pass every other time it comes back beyond that 16,000 years. And that is what we're seeing happen. I'll show you one other thing that certainly lets us believe that's the case. Now I wanted to show you this Egyptian parchment. This perception, this is damaged. It is not damaged. The message is within the damage, and there are many, many things on Earth that are like so. The date is actually written on this parchment as to when the crossing of the plane was actually going to happen, because this is reflective of our 6,000 year cycle, because there are 6 pillars missing from here, and this is 12 pillars here and 24 pillars there. And the reason for that is that if you didn't manage either the Earth cycle going slow or going fast, and the speed of rotation, it's in actual fact how long it actually takes to do 16,000 years of the time that's within this 6,000 years here, because this would be a 32-hour day and this would be a 16-hour day, but with the manipulation of the Earth and the way it cycles around the Sun, these are both turned to be, this would be a 27-hour day, and we are going to end up with a 21-hour day within this period of time. But in actual fact, we're looking at the very date. It's actually written here. It's the 24th of the 12th at 3 a.m. That was when it was going to be that we crossed or 3:30 a.m. I should say, right there. It's actually halfway between there, but you've got a half a pillar here. So it would have been 3:30 a.m. on the 24th of the 12th, and the date is this way because you've got 20 full men seated looking this way and 20 full men seated looking that way, which was the year 2020. That is what we're seeing here, but I've also wondered, and this 3 a.m. here, we go and look at months now. Okay, because now we're looking at months and saying, okay, now that Jupiter's gone, the drifting plane, it takes us 3 months to get to the point of where we're ready to meet with that plane, which would also explain why I've made a mistake with, well, you know, I've said that I thought things were going to happen on the 1st of July. If we look at this rock here, it's got 17 written on it. We look at this image, it's the same rock, it's the same place. It had 4 in Roman numerals. That was why I got a little bit confused there. I thought it was, well, it wasn't wrong in one respect. I've always said it was this Christmas, but with the understanding of that crop circle and the moving of the solar plane and the extension of time we get, an additional 3 months because of the removal of Jupiter and the start and the shifting of the solar plane away from the galactic plane, in actual fact where we're getting another 3 months. I just wanted to show you just a couple of other crop circles that are reflective of the same situation, being that they're saying, okay, well, it's in the middle of the month. Well, we've got a crisscross hatch here. Crisscross hatch, because what do you harvest? It looks like that is corn. And we're looking at the UK here, so where do you harvest corn? In the UK, the peak of the harvest is the middle of November. That's why that's the way it is. It's telling you November is the month, as we've just seen on those the other parchments. There's more than one place. It's not just my birthday. It's told us this many times. I'll show you a few others. Here is another crop circle, I believe, depicting the middle of November. So we're talking about the 3 months or the last 3 months of the year before, well, in this instance our sun's going to be setting. Well, I'll be honest, I don't know whether this is sunrise or sunset, but it is once again within the half of the 3 sectors, so it would be November, reflective of November of being the month. I have shown you this rock before as well, and I did want to go back for just a short period of time at the end of the video here. We're going to get this rock out and see whether or not the 17 that was written there is still there. Well, I suspect it possibly could be, but I've shown you this before and said that in the middle of my video called the programmable rock. I mean, I really thought long and hard about making that, I can assure you. Not in the habit of making a fool of myself, although a lot of people would disagree. You know, working in IT, fixing computers, so I think very logically, although like I said, I've met many men smarter in certain areas than I was, that's for sure, and maths would be one of them. But that's what I wanted to show you that, because I'm going to put that rock back under here. But right here is where Nibiru was once on the rock, and I will show you where that was. And we will have a look at exactly that location on the rock. I want to do that again before we finish up today. I just wanted to let you know what I had come to an understanding of, and there was one other thing I will show you. I wanted to just insert this image here because it isn't just this. I've seen this, and I've left this is the Mystery History 2 channel. I'm not claiming to have and I have actually communicated with them and let them know about my channel, as I do with everybody. But like I said, I'm a non-profit channel here. I'm just getting the news out at great risk in some ways. But anyway, I wanted you to know that that's what I actually perceive the core of Earth to look like. It's actually more disc-shaped. Because it certainly appears to be that the movement upwards is an impossibility with a round core. Whether or not it's just the magnetic core or the magnetic field of Earth, I don't know, it's hard to know because you get so many lies from these people at the top, you don't know what to believe. So, but I'm seeing that. One other thing I did want to let you know is this. This is near the sun, and once again, this was Unexplained Mysteries, which is a young Englishman who puts up some videos there and asks a lot of questions about a lot of things. This has been seen at the sun by NASA. It's been recorded there a few times. It's a cube. It's bigger than Earth. There's also planets behind here. You can see the sun is actually hidden off to the side with a cupboard here, but there's also another body there and another one here. So I'm saying the process that gets us out to Mars, there could be more planets than just one Mars, because I would see that there's some sorting out to be done. The continental masses are going to be cut up and moved. We discussed that in other videos before. Many of them are going to be cut up and moved. Many, you know, the Great Wall of China is going across mountain ridges. They cut across the mountain ridges. It's what they do. They put the water underneath. You ask yourself a question: how much is the weight? If you want to talk about something floating, you talk about water displacement. How much does a cubic meter of water weigh when it's at 2,000 feet in the ocean? I'll tell you what, it weighs the total weight of every other cubic meter of water above it in the direction of a pyramid, which is why we see the water and the boreholes and the cut marks reflective at the pyramid. It is the principles of floating a mass, continental mass. So they cut the masses, they allow the water to run into the tunnels that are underneath the continents. They in turn lift the planet or the mass up off it's where it was fixed. It gets broken off by the tunnels they've cut through there. The water pressure lifts and floats away a massive amount of land, and it just moves to where they want it, and they repin it. That's how they do it. They've done it for many, many millions of years, and that is known by a great many people on our planet. It is just hidden from quite a substantial lot as well. So this is one of the Droper plates. I wanted to come back to this because at a point in time I saw this where and said the situation was that we had 1E7E written in hex on it, and it was to be time, it was way too long. And I do believe that there are people on our planet that tell us certain things that are correct. I think that the age of Earth at 4.3 billion years is probably there. It would not have been 8.6 trillion or thereabouts, which is what this number reflects, about 8.6 light years. At the time I was not aware of certain things, but I did say that I perceive a situation where whoever it was that was on the planet, at the point I didn't even know if it was humans. But the longer I went through the processes and understood, as we've shown you already, the selection of the star signs, all of them, no matter what cycle you're in, that could only have been designed by humans, to be honest. And I've also since said in other videos that the event that happened at Roswell was at 33.33.33 north. That's 3 sixes. It's north, and it's left in the United States because they knew full well that was where the biggest army was when they came back. There is no war here to be had. You've back-engineered something that was being left there to tell you how advanced humans were at the point in time that the corruption took place. So in actual fact, you've back-engineered something that was 60 million years old. It's a very fruitless exercise. I want to say once again, we see this disc shape here as well, which I also believe is the core of the Earth. It may even be reflecting there the core of the Sun. It's the same inside it. It's like it's more a UFO shape. I cannot see the planet moving up the way it is with a round core. It does not make sense. So I actually see the core of our planet and the Moon, any other body, being more shaped like that, which is how it can sit laid flat without getting spun. It's lying the wrong way. But the reason I wanted to show you that is because there is a crop circle that you can calculate the speed of Nibiru through the system. It is very, very quick. If we look at this crop circle here, I believe this is the one that tells us the speed of Nibiru through the system. So in other words, it's not necessarily light speed, but it's certainly that quick. We don't see it coming with our technology, and it's gone before we get a chance to see it as such. I would see this as we're being told we get 4 planets taken away within the next 16,000 years, that we're in actual fact the Earth, or the centre of that crop circle is the star, our star. And the other 3 stars are of equal distance away. There are 3 stars, I'll insert them here. The distance of them is all roughly about 8.6 light years, very similar to the plate that had 1E, 7E written on it. I would see that we're possibly seeing the distribution of the other planets here. So the ones that get taken away get put out here around this star system. And then when we get 4 taken away, the whole solar plane of Earth, the solar plane itself has then gone past 90 degrees. And instead of it losing planets, it then captures planets the next time Nibiru comes back. So in other words, the next 16,000 years we see a relocation of these planets here back to the inner ring and these 2 here back, and so on until the system is balanced. I could be wrong, but that's certainly what I would see. But even if that was the minimum amount, 8 light years, you're talking about 16 light years divided by 4,000, you can get the drift. It's very, very quick. And that's why I believe we do not see it coming into our solar system or going. It is just very, very, very quick. And unless you know where it is ahead of time, I would expect you don't see it. And that's one of the reasons why Earth's outer ring of rotation is 186,000 miles from the Sun, is it's reflective of the speed of light, in which case we don't see it. I will move on to the rock now that I put under the microscope here. And we'll have a look at that, and I will show you where Nibiru used to be on it, and it disappeared as quickly as it was seen. Now I have the rock under the microscope. I haven't gone to that from a perspective at this point. I just want to show you something, that this inserted image that I've got laid over the rock in the background here, which is that rock. I'll just move it just a tad and you can see the image of the background vibrate. So the rock is under here, and I've got it set to where you can see what it used to have on it. And this was Nibiru here. I'll explode that in a little bit more, but there's a red planet with another ball spinning around it. I do have a clearer image, but I can't sort of get my hand on it that quickly at this point in time. But I wanted to show you, I'll flick between one and the other, and you'll see what I'm talking about, the marks disappearing and changing and so on. So I'm going to just move between one and the other. And you can see that Nibiru's not there anymore. It was in that position. The great Australian bite of Australia is in actual fact this part here, that part there, and that dot. I've never got to go away, but now I know why it's there. It's because that's where they're going to cut from there all the way up to the Gulf. That's exactly why that's going to happen. There's going to be a big cutter come out of the ocean and go all the way. At least I thought that was what the case is, but the visual aspect of a cutter, maybe a laser more these days. It's just hard to draw a laser and let me know what they meant. But I wanted to show you that, but you can see quite simply it's just not there anymore. I have just come back to that portion of the rock, and I will flip between the image that had 4 written on it, and this is the location here that has 4. I'll just put that over there so you can see it's within where South America was written here. Had 4 in Roman numerals, still the same spot as this here and there, where these angles changed, and it's telling me, see the bright spot come up down here now? It's over here, it's gone. I just wanted to come back and just check that that was 17. It still is. I still expect that would be 17th of November, in the middle of the month, as we've already discussed. I think we'll finish up there today, and just say to you all, thank you very much for staying on my channel to this point. I certainly believe I've covered most of the things we need to know, and this was how I'll finish up. So thank you very much. It's Brian Whitten and ET Art, and I do encourage you, if you would, to share such things, because the days of them arriving here are very, very close to our doorsteps indeed. Thank you. Bye-bye.